For the HP panel discussion on how SDX enables digital transformation. We're looking at talking about the software-defined enterprise which will emerge this year, and the software-defined silos will begin to come together into a broader software-defined enterprise architecture, dramatically changing the way an organization access storage, networks, and data centers. Well, we're looking at talking about how are the rising customer expectations and global trends forcing shifts in compute, storage, security, networking, how SDE, SDX provide real benefits for enterprises beyond just cost efficiencies, are advances in automation and AI propelling enterprises towards a self-driving wide area network, and also how is the evolution of the cloud fueling the software-defined revolution and driving the need for next-gen cloud-first infrastructure. Well, ladies and gentlemen, we're elated to be joined by eminent panelists. First up, Golok Kumar Simli, CTO, Ministry of External Affairs, Government of India. Golok is an award-winning technology leader and an ICT expert with more than 2 decades of experience. His role is critical in implementing and guiding the public sector to using emerging technologies and architecting and executing cybersecurity and data and information security frameworks. With this, I'd now request Golok to please switch on the camera, and thank you so much, Golok, for joining us today live. Thank you.
Thank you, Varuna.
Pleasure, Golok, having you today. Ladies and gentlemen, also joining Golok is Kaushik Majumder, the Head of IT Digital Services and Information Protection Officer, South Asia, BASF India Limited. Well, Kaushik holds a doctorate and an MBA in IT with more than 21 years plus of experience in the field of leadership and strategic digital roles. He's somebody who's handled end-to-end digital transformation and service activities that include setup of complete transformation of legacy IT team of South Asia. Thank you so much, Kaushik, for joining us. With this, I'd now request you to please unmute yourself and join us live.
Thank you, Bhavana, for the great introduction. Thank you very much.
Pleasure having you, Kaushik. Also joining us is Mr. Ranganath Sadasiva, Chief Technology Officer, Hybrid IT, Hewlett Packard Enterprise. Well, with more than 25 years of experience in the technology industry, Mr. Ranganath is an accomplished technologist and a management executive across core ICT technologies, who has done various customer-centric roles across sales, product development, and consulting in India and the APAC region. With this, I'd request Mr. Ranganath to join us live on the platform. Thank you so much, Mr. Ranganath, for joining us at the Big CIO Show.
Hey, namaste, Bhavna. Thank you very much. Namaste, everyone.
Pleasure having you here, sir. With this also, I'd now like to welcome Mr. Milind Kamkar, this Group CIO, Supermax, joining us. Milind is an accomplished executive with 28 plus years of rich track record of applying technology to address business challenges, technology-led business transformation, and steering business processes from chaos to order. Thank you so much, Milind, for joining us. With this, I'd request you to join us live. Thank you.
Good morning, Bhavana. Good morning, all friends.
Perfect. Well, what a great, we've got such rich experience on the, platform today of the Big CIO Show, and we're excited to kickstart with this amazing discussion. So, well, ladies and gentlemen, it's going to be me moderating for the time being. Let's kickstart. I'd love to quickly jump into the first discussion about what is SDX and how is it impacting your organization. Well, the software-defined analytics, which is also known as SDX, is bound to encourage productivity growth through increased network access from a range of portable and traditional devices. Well, the hottest buzzwords in IT technology today are the software-defined networking, software-defined storage, and software-defined data center. Well, these are a part of the broader trend that will as well be, as we call, the software-defined everything. Well, the impact, I would say, is in every industry. We talk about service provider, banking, financial service and insurance, retail, healthcare, government, education, transportation, utilities, manufacturing, media and entertainment, and telecom. Well, with this, I'd first like to quickly jump upon and ask all our eminent panelists, starting with Mr. Kaushik. So if you'd like to tell us what has been the impact of SDX in your organization, we'll start with you, sir.
Thanks, Ravna, and good morning to everybody. I think COVID as a pandemic is very perceived negatively. But if you see, it has also made us learn many things. It has transformed a lot of things in our day-to-day life. We always refer it now by pre and post-COVID, where the way we were working, the way we were producing at an organization level in terms of our products and services, and the way we were extending it to the customer has totally changed. Legacy organizations who were hesitating to go into e-commerce have no other options today other than to adopt e-commerce as an a way to cater to their customers. So these are very essence. Our workforce today actually have completely transformed from working at offices to work from home. All this, if you take together, has given the rise of the scalability of our network, the scalability of our data centers, the scalability of the entire gamut of infrastructure that it is catering as a service to them. There are organizations who have been an early adopter of technologies when it comes to whether it's SDN, whether it's the hybrid SDN, or whether the SD-WAN, or whether it's even open network. But in this pandemic, you cannot stay back and wait. So the agility who has adopted it earlier actually paid them off. And that's what I see happening quite often. It does not only restrict ourselves in terms of how we work and how we cater our customers, but also in terms of how we produce, because the workforce itself is very challenged at this point of time with the labors and all the complications around that. So our sites are also running very optimized manner. So that also gives rise to a lot of IoT related initiatives which are running, and that are paying off today. So I think we cannot stay, we have seen a transformation of SD-WAN, SD-LAN, or open network, or which also touches the storage, security, the data centers. So software defined everything is not a term that the umbrella that is there is going to be ignored anymore. It's very much in, and it's going to stay for some time till some other technology or the nomenclature or something takes over. So that's my personal take on this, and that's what has helped us to overcome this in these difficult times. Thank you, Bhavna.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Kaushik. Well, also to all our viewers, we just like to bring in our moderators just joined, Prasanna Lohar, Chief Innovation Officer, DCB Bank. Well, Mr. Lohar is an industry veteran with over 21 years of industry experience across multiple sectors. His passion for innovation is unmatched by the others. Thank you so much, Mr. Lohar, for joining us today at the nick of the time, and thank you for being a part of the big CIO show. Mr. Lohar, we just had a conversation with Kaushik as to how the technology SDX is impacting. So we just started right now with him, and I'd like you to now take it over, Mr. Lohar, with the rest of our eminent panelists. Thank you for joining us today.
Yeah, so thank you so much, organizers, for inviting me, and sorry for the initial delay. So I think it's a great time, right? So we've been seeing last 1 year, so because of pandemic or a COVID situation, we have seen a huge acceleration of digitalization in every industry. It's not only in banking, but I think every industry which we are seeing around us, it's being changed. And the ultimate boost for this is the customer behavior is changing. So the concept called as a human augmentation is changing. So it's not only for external customers, but also for your internal customers also, employees. So the whole lot of operations which are happening and on the ground now, it has changed to the all digital. And every organization is now looking at how they can become for every application which they are building, how it can be a digital first. And moreover, there is a lot of push from regulator also, how these applications should be cloud ready or digital first ready, and more or less there are a lot of security control also coming in our life. Okay, so I think thanks for joining everybody. So looking at the whole traction around software defined enterprises like SDX, typically it's called as, and these days we'll hear a lot of buzzwords like SaaS, PaaS, and software-defined storage, software-defined networks, and so on. I'm not sure like how the life has really changed. So I would like to understand from our participants and our speakers, what is that really significance of software-defined enterprises, right? Is it really important for your organizations? Maybe you would like to start from Mr. Golok Kumar. Mr. Golok, if you can really introduce yourself, followed by what is the significance that is bringing for your industry? Yeah, please.
Thank you, Prasanna, and welcome to the panel. Let me also thanks at the outset the Treston for bringing me here. And all my co-panelists, and I also greet all the participants who are listening to this panel discussion. But coming back to the topic, Prasanna, we are today discussing about software-defined of everything. Now, I take little other side of it when we go into the software-defined arena. Typically, if we see ourselves, the way we have grown up from silo days to consolidation days, then the digitization stage, and then the automation stage. And today, if you ask me, many of government sectors, government department, private organization, any sectors we talk about, they are into a disruption stage, right? Now, while we are into a disruption stage, and especially if I look into the pandemic era, to my mind, it comes that it's not about a component wise, whether it is a software defined network or a storage or the compute, but I take it as holistically. I would say, for me, it is a software defined architecture. For me, it is a software defined application and services. That matters to all of us, right? And when I was, especially in the government, when we are looking into software-defined architecture at large or application services at large, again, there are 3-4 facts comes to our mind, Prasanna, especially how do we provide ease to our customers and beneficiaries? What is the efficiency factor I am looking for in terms of SLAs, in terms of my KPIs, right? That is the second E I say in terms of 4 E's. The third factor I definitely look, or what we are doing, is the elasticity factor, right? How much I can make it myself resilience in terms of providing or meeting the own demand kind of a requirement or sudden kind of a requirement. For an example, the pandemic we are all going through, right? And the last E I definitely look after is the expandability angle. That is the scalability angle, right? So these 4 E's, if you look after the holistic architecture or the framework of the software defined architecture holistically and impacting 2 more things, 2 more E's, that is the expectations of the citizens, beneficiary or the service seekers. And how is that this software defined kind of a framework or architecture impacting the ecosystem at large? So these are the 2 E's. If we can achieve through software defined framework, I say, or the application concept we are looking for, then I personally feel, Prasanna, the disruption stage we are at this moment of time. It looks very kind of a appealing. It looks very kind of a promising, and I would say that we will all look forward towards these 3-4 aspect of it. The last thing I'll definitely put saying that as a government now we are aiming towards a data-driven economy. We are aiming towards a digital economy. We are aiming towards data economic zone. We are aiming towards cloud economic zone. And when you are as a compliance side, regulation side, or overall the government vision, if we see, and if we are aiming towards that, to my mind, it comes that software defined kind of a technologies or the architecture or the framework will help us to achieve this kind of a government vision or overall vision of the government reaching towards, let's say, $1 trillion kind of a digital economy, which we are aiming by 2025. So that's how I put it initially, Prasanna. Thank you.
I think a very good initial remark, Golok, and what we have seen, right? Various state governments, Indian government, whatever they are building, they are also looking at it has to be on something like new age technologies, right? So coming back, what we have seen in the last 12 months, right? 12, 14 months because of COVID-19 pandemic, right? And we have seen a huge impact on organization, the way they operate. And typically, when I have heard initial pandemic in Maharashtra, for 60 seconds, I was just thinking, how do I operate, right? Rather, how do I operate, how my employees will operate, what all immediate actions I need to take care for making them comfortable at home, working from home. And at the same time, there are a lot of challenges, right? Readiness of the devices or laptops and for those, and as well as how my customers will get benefited out of my services. Do I need to do any changes? Or this could be like I'm opening all of my networks for my employees. So is there any security gap? There are a lot of thoughts in my mind when the pandemic has started last 2020 March. I think similar thought must be there in everyone out there. So Kaushik, what was the impact like outbreak of the COVID-19 pandemic, and how you feel that software-defined enterprises or relevant various initiatives could be helpful for every organizations? Maybe you can depict your experience, Kaushik.
So it's Prasanna, it was nothing different what you just mentioned. So for just like any other organization, it hit us as a surprise because the preparedness was not to that scale. I will use the word scale because everywhere was doing, whether it's a VPN, work from home, or making that remote working experience possible, or even adoption of e-commerce or cloud. It was going on in every organization, and we were not far off. We are an early adopter of a lot of technologies when it comes to specific to the organization that I represent. That helped us because we were prepared to some extent. But again, scalability, as I said, was not. Nobody anticipated to this scale that was required. And we were also doing a lot of things in areas of SD-WAN adoption, or in terms of cloud adoption, open network adoption. We have to accelerate that. So we have to speed it up, to scale it up on the fly, so that we are able to help our users, our customers, and we are in business. The word in business is very important over here because that the business continuity is more relevant with. So that's what helped us in these adoptions, and it is a continuous journey, as I said earlier, and it has to continue. So there is no way that things will go back to the way it used to be earlier. It's a whole new world, and we have to start accepting this and move forward.
Absolutely. So I agree with you. But are there any special experiences during the pandemic for you, which will say that, yeah, so I think this digital enterprises should really embark their journey? Say, example, in the banking, I think this video KYC has become a prominent initiative for every bank out there. Let's say, example, IndusInd, DCB also. We immediately launched this video KYC so that we can reach out to our customers for video KYC operations. What has happened in the December, I think November 2019, RBI has come with a recommendation that we can go ahead for a KYC. I think this kind of a boost from RBI or regulator also helping to adopt digital first operations out there. So any such experiment you guys have done, Kaushik?
Yeah, so Prasanna, we have to provide more options. That's the first thing that came up. So whether it's collaborating platform, like adding more collaborative platform, extending it to our users, or business. We have a lot of business units serving different kind of products or catering to the different industries. Few of them were the early adopters of e-commerce. Few were still lagging, and there is no choice for them rather than to adopt. So the scalability, I again tell you that in terms of adoption of the technologies, and that actually creates a lot of demand on the back end in terms of the preparedness, whether it's the data center that needs to get prepared, the SaaS the storage, the security, all gets touched. And it helped us to sail through because we were already doing software defined, environment. We were in the software development environment. We were starting off with it. All that we did is just speed it up.
I think great. I think coming back to Milind sir, I think Milind sir, you have mentioned some of the initial remarks. So over to you. Do you really feel there are different types of organizations, right? So we have a organization like Paytm, who is a very new organization, right? Or a new, rather, digital first type of organization. So we have seen the organizations like SBI or those cooperative banks. So every organization has its own way to really adopt new technologies or new processes based upon what they have in the back end, right? What type of people they have, or what type of operations they are willing to do for that year. So coming back, what is that you were thinking in 2019 or 20 or in year 2020 also, 2021 also, and how do you feel that are you really ready for SDX kind of initiatives out there? So over to you, Milind sir.
Thank you, Prasanna. It's a very great questions you are asking. You are right. The software defined everything is no more the choice. And the adoption of it is happening because of the two main reasons as per my mind. One is dependency. The business want to reduce the dependency, whether it is internal or external. And second is the agility. The whole piece of acceptance start with the enterprise architecture. The CIO begin his journey or restart his transformation journey by defining the enterprise architecture. In good olden days, it was confined to the hardware, that is a base platform, which is aligned with the business strategy. And then gradually you were adding the applications. Now there is always time lag between the established hardware and the application adoptions. And that gap used to limit or restrict the new technology adoptions, which is getting solved by the software defined everything. I begin my software defined everything with the cloud adoptions way back in 2016 when I was deploying the ERP. The reason for going for the cloud, we are an early adopter of the cloud. The reason for going it, we want to deploy our ERP very fast. And we did it within less than 6 months. Implementing the ERP like SAP in 6 months, it's a great achievement. And that's also for the manufacturing organization. The manufacturing organizations are very late as far as the information technology adoption is concerned, because the major focus is on adopting the operational technologies, who can help in giving the cost-effective quality product. Now, with the software defined, I think it is helping a lot for organizations in the greater adoption of the digital technologies. The digital technology, the way it is changing and moving ahead, is extremely fast-paced compared to what we can change the deployed hardware. And the solution for that is a software define everything. You can't have a fixed compute which is purchased 3 years back and it hardly good today, and you have an opportunity to replace it just because you're adding new application. So total cost of ownership of your automation is based upon how best your architecture is flexible and agile, and that is given by the software define everything. Manufacturing organizations, that COVID has helped us to accelerate that, because initially the thought process about getting for a digital or automating what is not automated is very slow. The focus is how it is adding to my bottom line. Absolutely. By replacing, adding new technologies. But now it is no more choice. The conversation is shifted from bottom line to the survival. And for survival, digital technology, adoption of digital technology is very, very required. Now, we were not aware that 2020, we will have to enable the work from home immediately with no choice given. You have to enable the VPN and also to the device agnostic, because it is not everybody in the organization has a laptop or the company provided tab, and business has to run. In the initial lockdown, March 20, when it was declared, we hardly had any time. Morning, it is decided by the factory inspector that organization will have to lock down or slow down their manufacturing and reduce the headcount on the premise. And that point of time, we got very few hours to enable the work from home, because business has to go, the deliveries has to happen, whatever is manufactured, whatever is received has to go out of the premises. And that point of time, software defined network helped us a lot. We got a very good support from our service provider to enable the every device and a VPN, so that people can able to access the business outside the office. Rather, it will be from anywhere. It is not only from the work from home, because many people went to their native places where the network itself was a challenge, the device itself was a challenge. But we managed to address this issue, and the credit goes to software define everything.
Yes, yes, absolutely. So it's so nicely and beautifully you have mentioned what was the problem statement and how your organization really come out of that. Rather, coming out now, it is becoming a new normal for every organization.
Exactly.
And I think the biggest part or biggest participation goes to all of those service providers.
That's right.
All those network service providers or hardware service providers or those software defined network service providers. And I think it's really hats up to them. And at least typically at a DCB, I couldn't see any downtime during these last 14 months or so. Any services down or some people are not able to work on VPN. There are always some endpoint or end devices relevant issues, but that is being natural. But service providers has really helped banks, insurance companies, rather a whole nation to run and given different kind of mode like work from anywhere. Rather than I say work from home, so work from anywhere is something going on. So I think I'll come back to our friend Ranganath and see how this whole maturity of this ecosystem or the service provider, he's an expert out there in front of us. So maybe he can guide us how this whole SDX is really evolving, so that we hear from him and adopt some more best practices. So yeah, Ranganath, over to you.
Hey, thanks, Prasanna. Software defined is nothing new, in the sense that we all knew virtualization 20 years back, right? So that was our first efforts of software defined at a compute level, move to networking, move to storage. I think, it is part and parcel of our strategy, IT strategies today. The biggest draw of all of this is, like whatever Kaushik, Milind or Golok mentioned, it's all about that. For me, two attributes stand out. One is about the scale. Right, we all talk about scale, which came into play in the case of Milind, right? From completely factory dominated architecture to moving into completely working from home, right? It's a 360-degree shift. So his design philosophy is now going to be 360 degrees. I need to work out of home for all the people. I need work out of office for all the people. Correct. So that's the kind of scale that you will need. Attributable to that scale is the agility parameter, right? How agile is your organization to meet up to business needs, which could be in terms of scaling your business, or could be, unfortunate things like COVID, right? So if you put both of them, you need to have a schedule organization, I would say, scale and agility put together. But software defined has matured over a period of time. One of the other attributes of software defined has been the fact that it is easy for people to use software defined. The complexities behind that are all masked. If you're looking at how do you set up VPNs and stuff like that. The other attribute also was using industry standard devices at the back end and providing those kind of functionalities, leading to cost efficiencies, ease of use, cloud-like infrastructure, and those kind of things. But I really see software defined really emerging out of this kind of a paradigm into something different also, wherein you're able to actually leverage very custom made devices. We're talking of edge, for instance. You could have a lot of devices at the edge, and there could be anything like it could be a handheld, it could be a sensor, but you will be using very custom made devices across the board. Or you could have a storage device which essentially is like an independent storage device, but the feature functionalities of all of that can be software defined. So you will see the emergence of the front end being very, very agile, something that's going to really give you the feature functionalities that you would need to manage your business. But at the back end, you will also see some specialized hardware that will take care of the needs of the enterprise, because the scaling attributes, just in the case of VDI, right? It could be users who are there, who are heavy users, medium users, or the various three categories that you have. You will need perhaps infrastructure that's slightly different. So that way you will need that kind of flexibility. But software defined is here to stay. I see technology vendors adopt an approach of what is the kind of service that you would want, and can I make it available to you as easily as possible, and has all the flexibility.
So absolutely, very good thought. But see, we keep on hearing SDN, and you are so expert, and some of our expert speakers out there. But for any organization, if they from nothing, right? Say, suppose say example of 7 years before, if I ask a DCB, we were not having API banking or ESB, or we were on a managed data center. Nothing was virtualized, right? And every organization has its own orbit, how they can shift that adoption orbit from one orbit to the next orbit. And during that whole process, we require people, we require many more things, right? So Golok, in your view, what all those 4-5 things are needed for every organization to adopt software defined enterprises? Let's keep it brief in the interest of our time. Thank you.
Very, very interesting, Prasanna. These are the things we are doing currently, in fact. So 2-3 things comes to my mind, Prasanna, quickly. What is why software defined, and where do we focus? The first and foremost thing is, while you are building your digital transformation strategy, while you are let's say building your cloud transformation strategy, there you must see that the software defined way will help you out to really kind of strategize your workload, to really kind of strategize your workforce in terms of your critical workload, non-critical workload, sovereign data, non-sovereign data. This comes to very handy, right? That is one important area I wanted to focus, where we all, whether I am government, you are private, banking, research, academia, they can take advantage of this technology, which will help you and guide you. How do you create control on your data points and data sets? I always say that, right? That is one thing. The second very important area we must look, Prasanna, see, when we talk about data, I perceive, or we have seen that the trusted use of data, it's the hallmark of your digital economy. And how do you make the trusted data flow environment? And again there, I personally seen, and I have personally experienced, that software defined kind of architecture, the application, the services, whatever you are looking into, it's very handy to you. The last point, personal last point, the shift is now happening. Whatever digital platform we are creating, whatever cloud journey we have seen, it's mostly we have seen it's from the data to compute. Today the environment is data to compute. Now there will be 180-degree shifts. It will be compute to data. Now, while this kind of an environment we are shifting, and the whether you talk about pandemic, anything you talk about, it's a complete shift now. It's from compute to data now. It's no more data to compute. And again there, I find it very handy going forward in a way of software-defined holistic architecture, application ecosystem at large.
Yeah,
so
awesome.
That's how I conclude.
Yeah, thank you, Golok. I think people, process, technology are always the pillars, right? But how regulator and how end users are really responding to your implementation, that drives organization's need, whether to be digital first or have a traditional way and then look for a digital first. A lot of new technologies are coming, like AI, IoT, wearables, and I think in my view, with the 5G, right, that will become a more challenging for organizations. So I think as a strategy, we need to see how will be ready for the next 2 to 3 years.
Absolutely.
So that will drive, or that will decide which organization will exist or which organization will have a tougher time out there in the future. And while we are doing this, this kind of activities, I think security will bring on other different kind of challenges. So I think thank you so much, Trescon team, for inviting us for this whole discussion. So in the last remark, if we have some time, just last one line, if everybody wants to add, what is that one thing you want to implement immediately if you have some budget? So starting from Milind sir.
I just request, we're really actually.
Okay, all right, yeah.
apologetic because we are extending by 15 minutes already.
Okay.
So,
We
apologies.
will keep it for the next week CI show.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you so much,
Thank you, Prasanna.
Bhavna, Milind, Ranganath, Kaushik, and Golok Kumar. Thank you so much.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, everyone. Stay safe.
Thank
Wish
you all
a great
panelists.
day
Stay
and
safe, stay healthy.
God bless.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bhavna. Thanks.